Okay. So, hello guys, welcome to this podcast. So, this is my first podcast, and we have a special guest, Prashant Kumar. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Abhishek Thakur. I'm working with HCL Tech and having a 3 years of experience. My core areas of expertise is ITSM, HRST, discovery, and custom integrations. So, Prashant, thanks for joining us. So, could you please just introduce yourself so that our audience will be aware with you?
Okay, so hello everyone. Good afternoon or good morning. So wherever people are connected. So many of you already know about me, but still I will try to introduce myself. So I am Prashant, and I have a total experience of around 10 years working in ServiceNow platform, and I have been working as a solution architect. And so I have exposure to multiple modules of ServiceNow is basically on ITSM, CSM, HR, custom application, CSM. So these are things I have been part of, and I have performed couple of upgrade as well. So yeah, so that's all about my introduction, and I think I can start, Abhishek, on our
Yes.
main.
Yes, so guys, Prashant Kumar is going to demonstrate on domain separation. So specifically, this session is designed for everyone, no matter whether you are experienced or a fresher. So we would appreciate your efforts if you just ask questions. If you can just add on your thoughts, ideas, and suggestions, so that would be really helpful. So Prashant, over to you.
Okay, so yes, let me just log into my instance, and I will share my instance. Oh, I will share my screen basically. Just a minute. I will just share my screen. All right. All right. So I will share my screen now. Let me know once it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
All right. So yeah. So I will going. I will start on domain separation. So although it is old thing which was provided by ServiceNow, so this was already there from starting of my ServiceNow career as well. So domain separation was already there from couple of days. So I think it is a really interesting one. So I think if we talk about domain separation, so in older days, a lot of companies or a lot of people or a lot of customers are onboarded in a domain separated instance. All right. So I will tell you what exactly is domain separation and what it does exactly as part of organization or as part of the customers and clients. So we will talk about it. So what is domain separation? So basically, the domain separation is something in ServiceNow system through which we can separate our data and process and some of the tasks as well. So basically, we have our logical data or raw data in the sense the data which is generated using incident or some catalog items, right? So we have it separated with different domains. So if you call domains, so domain exactly is suppose we are having bulk of companies. So suppose I am the company, so I have multiple customers and I have to onboard multiple customers on my specific instance. All right, so these company will be considered as a domain for me. So they will be in each separate domain, and they will be having their separate process also and separate data. So one data will not be visible to other domains data. So this is basically the domain separation, so through which we can separate and segregate the data and process within our ServiceNow system. So for this purpose, we are utilizing domain separation here. So data separation also we can enable it for global companies with unique business, because they might also be having multiple child companies also sometimes. So we can customize their instance according to how they are looking for. All right. And so basically the domain separation is not enabled out of the box in ServiceNow system, because it's generate a few domains in system, out of the box domains, for which some of the domains are definitely required and which is used every time. So we have couple of domains there, we will come into that as well. So in so the domains which are being created in ServiceNow system, they would be having their own data or the customized business process. So so we have multiple domains, and each domain some person will customize something, and some customer will ask to modify something else. So for each different domain users, so they would be having their unique process and unique UI through which they would be are raising a request and getting the services from basic ServiceNow request. All right, so they will be having their process separated, but they will be working on a similar incident, similar instance of ServiceNow. So this is cool for the customers who is willing to onboard in such kind of environment this way. And there would be definitely a less costing when it comes to domain separation part, because if suppose some company want to spend very less amount for for implementing certain ITSM process basically. So that's why I think the domain separation is more utilized, because uh, if suppose they have to utilize only incident on request item and change request, so why they will purchase complete service now thing, and they will ask some vendors, okay, we have such kind of requirement and we have to get on boarded on some process system. So domain the instance which is having domain separation, that would be a great idea for the vendors who might already be running domain separated thing in their company. So basically, domain separation plays a very important role when it comes to onboarding multiple clients in a single instance. Okay. So now, so I have talked bit about domain separation, what it is and what exactly it is. All right. So we will move on to domain hierarchy. So this is just an example hierarchy which will organize multiple domains, and we can see the relationship between them as well. So you can see in this picture we have so this hierarchy, there is out of the box hierarchy as well when we try to enable plugin in our dev or PDI instance. So we will get some relation hierarchy already created for domains. All right. So there would be some relationship also created, like we would be having global, and then under global we will be having top domain, and under top domain we will be having multiple domains, and each domain can have multiple customers also. And you can see there is a domain 2 which is having MSP also here, right? So this way we can organize our multiple domains and hierarchies, and as well as the relationship between those system. All right, so this is very important thing, because the hierarchy should be maintained correctly, because when you try to create any process within domain separation, so we must be more careful on modifying the things, because what happens many times we should be in correct domain. So some what happens sometimes the domain is changed due to some configuration you're doing, or you're performing any customization. Sometimes you might be in global domain also, and you will be performing such changes. So you have to check whether you are in correct place to update everything or not. That's why this is very important, because you might configure something on some other domain and it will impact to other customers, right? So we should take care about that as well. That's why the hierarchy is present, so that people perform the process or data segregation using those hierarchy methods, right? So we would be having, suppose, so this is just basic example. There could be like 10 customers, 20 customers. Under top itself they will define as customer 1 2 3 4 5. So this domain can also be a company basically, or a customer 1, customer 2, and customer till any number of customers we are having, suppose. So each customer will be like having their specific domains configured in system. So that is altogether the configuration when you try to configure some domain within our ServiceNow system. So we would be defining it for that specific users. So we would be having some configuration generated when we enable domain separation plugin. So we will see in upcoming slides also. We will be seeing how what happens when domain separation plugin is installed. So you can see we have this enable domain separation plugin. So we have two things. First of all, domain separation plugin activation for production and development, and PDI. So everything is having separate way of enabling plugin for their system. So if we talk about dev or prod, so we would be having a store application also, and we are having separate plugin applications within the system under application side. So we can enable domain separation from there as well. And if suppose we have to enable domain separation for personal developer instance, so we can just go to our personal developer instance, and then you have to click on your profile, and there you will be finding manage plugins, and under manage plugins you will get like what uh, thing you have to enable. So I will show
So
you.
sorry, Prashant, to interrupt you. Just so we have one question from Ankit, that does ServiceNow provide directly domain separated instances or they direct to their partners?
You mean like see the what happens here exactly, the customer will not directly approach to ServiceNow. They want domain separation environment, no. Because just imagine, they are not requesting domain separation, they are requesting complete system from them. So they need to look for vendors who work in a domain separated model for their company. So for an example, if I talk about XYZ organization, so we have XYZ organization, and they are already having domain separated process enabled for their company for multiple customers. So we have to find those vendors first, and then we have to ask them, okay, we have to onboard our user base to this specific instance for circulating our process. Yeah, so ServiceNow can help on one thing. So ServiceNow will help you to migrate to that specific vendor, or that third party partners. They are already having multiple partners ServiceNow, so they can guide you which partner will be suitable for you to use this domain separation thing. So you can go to ServiceNow directly, but they will provide some suggestion. Okay, you can go to this third party partners. They will provide you the solution with related to domain separation, and we don't have to go directly to ServiceNow to enable domain separation. So domain separation basically is this configuration is done by the system administrator, in the sense the parent administrator of those complete instance, right? Suppose I am the company XYZ, and I am having complete hold of this process and this instance. I know how to handle domains, what to handle in what domain, right? So I only will have access for that, and I can only uh, onboard any new customers. So already, if there is already a customer, they cannot do their own domain setup. They have to come to us only. They have to tell, okay, we are having some child domain also for us, or child company also, and they are also having their own ServiceNow instance. So they have to move out from their ServiceNow, and they have to move their process to this hierarchy which is already present for current company.
So if we see from the top level, so domain separation is only focusing on the approach where we can secure the data from other applications, right?
So that is the second thing that comes second, uh, because
Okay.
see,
Yes, yes, go ahead.
so I have mentioned like there is a costing thing. The main thing is the cost, right? So just imagine one ServiceNow instance is having a good cost. Not to be specific in numbers, but if you see on costing of single ServiceNow instance rather than domain separation thing where multiple customers can be onboarded, right? So just imagine one instance we are having and five customers are onboarded. Now those five customers is onboarded in this domain separated model. Now just imagine if that company would be taking individual ServiceNow instance purchase. So just imagine what would be the cost for each of the customer, and what would be the cost when they are onboarded in a domain separated model. So there will be a huge difference. In terms of instance management, definitely there will be a very less cost as compared to you're getting whole instance of ServiceNow.
Okay, so we have one more question, that what is the difference between domain separation and application scope?
Domain separation and application is scope. So first of all, yeah, so there is a definitely there is a difference, because a application scope is like you have to develop some process which is not present in ServiceNow system, and that also we can create two ways, like on global scope and in its is application scope itself. So that is completely different when they don't have any process which they can utilize for their current process in terms of out of the box. So they try to create some application that is are not present in ServiceNow as out of the box, but they want to restrict the data from other applications. So at that point of time we are creating those applications. So those application creation is completely different from domain separation. That is like we are developing some process and we are providing some extra functionality using our ServiceNow instance. And under domain separation also we can create altogether new custom application. So when we create that custom application here, so we have to define there is one column sys underscore domain which has to be enabled for that custom table. So that table will also be a domain separated one as soon as that column is added to that custom table. So custom table is altogether different thing. It's not we should not compare it with domain separation, because application will provide you extra process that you can build and use, and that extra process can be done inside domain separation also. So is that fine, or we have more questions?
Sorry, Prashant, I actually got disconnected due to some technical issue. Yes, I think yes. So we have one more question, that is there a way to establish a connection between two different domain separated customers?
What? Can you come again?
So we have a question, that is there any way to establish a connection between two different domain separated customers?
Yes, we have. So, so you see here there is a delegated administrator, not delegate one. So this is domain expand scope and domain things. So we can provide child and parent relationship of domains, and there is a visibility and contains domains part that will come in some next slides. We are already having that. I will show you. So this is the contains domains. So this will provide you access to see data from other domain, and this is the visibility tables also, right? So I will show you that as well. We can provide the domains. Suppose where is that? Yeah, so suppose we are having this domain 1 and we are having this domain 2. So we they will not see each other's data, but we can provide hierarchy, like we can provide parent child for domain 1 or 2. We can we can suppose add domain 1 as the parent of domain 2. So the domain can see the domain 2 records in that case if domain 2 is a child.
Okay, so
So
we
we
have
can,
one more question. So if you don't mind, can I answer for that question?
yeah, sure.
So the question is, what would be better, customer purchasing three single instance or one instance with three domain separated environment? So that is only totally depend on the cost effective, because the moment you purchase three different instances, you might have to give some extra cost, extra or additional cost. Whereas if you purchase a single instance with the domain separated environments, so that is helping you to reduce the cost.
Yeah, so that everything is related to cost only if it is domain separation. For the fact I am telling you, because I mentioned you the example, like if some company is there and they want to only use ITSM, so why they will purchase huge thing of service, complete service now system? Why they will purchase if they only want ITSM to be working on their company? Why they will purchase whole service now system? So there is no much sense of that until the company has so much of money, so they can buy their own instance and they can start only ITSM. So already ServiceNow is the most part of ServiceNow is about costing only. So in that case, if some customer has to use ServiceNow, so they have provided something within ServiceNow so that many customers can be onboarded within ServiceNow a platform or the ServiceNow process. So that's why they have introduced this kind of thing so that many customers can be onboarded. All right. So I think you- do we have more
Oh,
question?
you can. Yes, you can start with the demo. Actually, we are getting a lot of questions. I'm very happy that audience is participating. So we'll answer it before we go off.
Okay. So that's why like
And
I
guys,
have chose such kind
we
of
will
topic.
definitely try to. Yes, just give me one moment, Prashant. So guys, will definitely try to address all the questions. If something we will not be able to answer, you can either reach out to me or Prashant on LinkedIn, or
Yeah.
or the YouTube.
Yeah, because this information is too vast also and too small also. It's based on mostly understanding thing. So rest all things are easy inside our ServiceNow system. Everything is same. You can create business rule or clientscape. Everything is same. It's just we have to understand what exactly it is about and how we can configure the things basically. Then rest all things are same. Configuring anything within process. So you see this is a developer.servicenow.com, right? So we have this option under profile section and we have this activate plugin, right? So if as soon as I click here, so we can search. So this I am talking about PDI. All right. So on PDI only activate plugin through this method. Otherwise, if you are using customer instances, so please try to use from application module or the store, ServiceNow store. So both the places it is available. So if that plugin is not available on ServiceNow instance, then you can request it from ServiceNow store. Okay, so this is the way how you can install in your personal developer instance. So you see, I will search here domain. So we have two types of thing. Service catalog, we have separate domain separation, and this is the domain support where we can configure all the domains of what we are talking right now. So this is part of this plugin. So we can activate plugin with demo data. So why demo data? Because we are mostly doing some kind of experiment or some kind of POC. So we need some demo data also, so that you will get more understanding. So we can activate this plugin with demo data. So I'm not clicking on it. I already have prepared instance of where this plugin is activated. All right. So I wanted to show you like how we can enable. So you can enable using this place. All right, and you will get the email. Like it will take 10 to 15 minutes to get installed, and you will be notified using your email ID with related to this developer instance. All right, and then you can start using our domain separation thing. So yeah, so as soon as the domain separation is installed, so we will be having this sys domain fields on multiple tables added already to support data separation. This sys domain field is very important field for all the table, for not all, because this sys domain will be created for not all the tables. Some of the tables are there where this field will not be created, but those fields are not used also much, that's why they are not added on those tables. And business rule and other logic, yeah, so we can define business rule or logic based on the domain side. So they are talking that. And we will be having system properties where we can enable the data separation and the process separation. So this system property is about data separation, client.sys.domain.enable, and this property is about process separation. So these both mostly will be enabled in the system already. So this will get installed as part of this plugin, and new roles for domain separation functionality will be introduced, like domain admin and domain expand scope, right? So this will be assigned so to mostly the admin part. So who would be the developers, mostly they would be having these two things. Yeah, so this I have already mentioned, dev and prod way of installing. So either ServiceNow store, or you can install within ServiceNow application module. So now I have been talking about this glide.sys.domain.enable. So basically in domain separation we have two things mostly, data separation and as well as process separation. So these are two things. I will show you how this works. So data separation is like it is enforcing the separation on database level. All right. So why this data separation? Because the important thing is data only within domain separation. Because suppose we are already having process, but still we have to get the data which are getting as separated from based on domains. So you can see we are having the sys domain column in tables added automatically. So this based on this, the data will be segregated in the system as soon as we are getting any data created based on domain separated. Okay, so we can see when a customer log in under a domain, they will get the domain separated table and its data. They will not see any other domain data. And here when we talked about like a custom table or custom application creation, so if we want to make that domain separated also, so we have to add sys domain field to that table, right? And that way we will be add this separate custom table access to specific domains. And we can do the testing also, because testing is very important in data in domain separation, because there can be a data leak due to some wrong configuration. So we have to keep in mind regarding testing and the time when we are making the changes on a specific domains. So accidentally there might be a case you might have switched to domain 2 from domain 1. So you have to keep in mind that as well. So based on hierarchy, you see user can see data in their home domain and child domain of that domain. So basically I mentioned that earlier. So if suppose we are having domain 1 as a parent domain and domain 2 as a child domain. So parent 1 domain can see the data of their child domain basically, right? So if we talk, it is, we can say it is an example when you enter into flat and you might be having access to three different rooms, right? So you have access for flat, then only you can enter your rooms. So this is like just a basic thing, example of this domain hierarchy of parent-child relationship. So you see, when we have data separation enabled, the data from child will be visible from a parent domain. So these are the customer one and customer two. This is the Stark Industries. So for an example, this is Stark Industries can see the data of both the customers.
So Prashant, just related with, we have one question. So if we have one business rule or any other script or job in child domain, so is that business rule or script will be applicable to the parent one? If
No,
not, then how we can make it applicable to parent? I think, is it not possible?
no. So see, data will be working this way. So that is about process. So this is data separation I'm talking. So the next slide is about that only, so you will get answer there. Okay, so I will talk that, Abhishek. This that slide is after just this slide only.
No problem. No problem. Okay.
Yeah. So you see how data is flowing. So this is flowing this way. Data can be viewed from this to this, and this can view the data from these two. Okay. This is like whole parent. This can also see this data, and this will look into customer one and customer two data. So this way this data will be visible this way, like child will be visible to parent and parent will be visible to its most parent also. So this is data separation which will be visible from top to bottom in a pyramid shape. Now we have process separation. So why this process separation is there? Because we have to separate the process, and based on those process separation, so data will also be already uh, already be separated, because the hierarchy for domain separation is first the data separation will be enabled, then process separation will be enabled. So for we cannot enable only process separation until data separation is enabled. If we And we can use only data separation also. So what will happen in that case? If we are, so I will show you, I will tell you, that is in this slide only. So process separation is basically overriding the process. Okay, and process can be domain separated. Process separation basically is enabled for suppose business rule or client script. We have this sys override, and we have this sys domain. So these are the important one, because the business rules are created already in some parent, and then we create some business rule under child one. So based on those sys domain and sys override field, uh, we can configure those process in the sense we are doing some validation, customization, or creating any business rule, notification, client script, whatever things we are doing. So that will have this sys domain sys override field automatically added when the domain separation was enabled. So you will find when you enable this in your personal developer instance, and you will get much big idea there. So you see that they have shown one example. If you have a business rule that exists in top domain, then override it for a child domain to run a different business rule. So override means, suppose you have opened a business rule which is already added in top domains. And then if suppose that business rule you have to make some change and utilize in your domain, so you can go to your domain and you will, as soon as you will update anything on that business rule, so that business rule will be overridden for your domain, the domain which you have selected, there one business rule will be inserted. That means the override of that business rule will be created under child domain with some modification. Okay. So as another example, they have also mentioned like if suppose two user is signing into different domains, they will see two different interface in the instance. Suppose on portal side also we can provide a specific URL. Portal is not domain separated so far as I know. So that configuration is done as part of a scripting. If we talk about portal side, because when I have worked on portals, so they have been working on portals based on their execution of a script. So they have defined some criteria for each domain's service portals. So you see, if we activate only data separation and not process separation, all domains will use the same business rule. So that means if suppose data separation is enabled and process is not enabled, so what will happen, whatever system whatever process is already built in the system in top, so that same process will be running for all the domains. There will not be any different process. Only what will happen, data will be segregated for each different domains. So one domain will not see other people domain 2 incident, and domain 2 will not see domain 1 incident. So this is like and process will be same business rule will be running in all the domains. So that way, if process separation is not enabled, so the execution happens that way. And now we are coming uh, to process separation. So we have some of the policy or some of the forms which might have this process separation thing. So they are talking about assignment rule, rules, and SLA, notification, business rule, plan script, UI policy, and many more. These are just the small list, but when you try to create what are things you have to create within process, so you can create those process there. And now, some time back, what was the question, Abhishek?
The question was that yes, if we apply one business rule on the child domain, so should it be applied for the parent domain as well?
Yeah. So now, so this was the data separation. This was the thing in data separation. Now, under process thing, so this will become the reverse thing. Now, business rule will not. Suppose you have created business rule in customer one. So this business rule will not be applied to this this domain. So process wise, because see how I have mentioned how business rule is created in child domain. If we have same business rule to be overridden to child, so this will already be having its rule, or they might be having separate business rules for them. But this customer, if suppose this some business rule is created here, this will not be working in their parent side at all.
Okay, so we have one more question that can script include be used for process separation?
Script include be used for process separation. So first of all, so I will you will itself find the answer. So script include will work here, there will not be any issue. But just imagine where it will execute. It will execute either in business rule, either in client script. Both are working as a domain process separation. So how this business rule will be created to call a script include? So it will already be working in domain separated thing.
So it actually depends on the requirement or the scenarios where we are dealing with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because see,
So
script include will be created independently. So you have to verify whether it has that domain or not. But see, the business rule will already be domain separated base. So if you are calling some script include under client script, so it will be executing on that specific domain only.
Okay,
Okay.
so can us yes, so we have one more question, that difference between domain separation and MSP. It was an initial slide, I think. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think in the next slide after that, where you were just showing the data flow from the parent to child domain. No problem. Let me answer for this question if you're not finding it. So MSP, it was just a parent domain that is
Yeah.
connected with the child domain and in the top down bottom approach. So it is nothing. It's only a parent child relationship that specifies that. Am I correct, Prashant?
Yes. So basically, if we see like it is a service provider, mostly multiple multi-service provider, or we can tell it that way, because you can onboard multiple customers basically. That's why it is MSP they have provided. So don't confuse with the names provided here. It's just a relationship or domain hierarchy which is created. So we don't have to be confused here. So data separation is going top to up, like they can see all below data. But if we talk about process, this arrow will become reverse. So process wise, the domains, the business rule. If suppose we are having any business rule here and we don't have override here, so that same business rule will execute in these two customer instance. If that same business rule is not overridden, so that same business rule will run here also. Okay, that's the process. Because see, if on top whatever things is configured or whatever process is defined, that is a base process. So when you try to onboard a customer in domain separation, so what happens generally, they will show the demo of their existing process of parent one. On top whatever process they have built, they will show the demo for that only. Because what happens, they will agree, okay, we want everything same way, but we have to tweak some validations or some business rules. So they will provide the requirement, and based on that we will make the changes on existing process. Existing process change will be applied to that new domain where new customer will be onboarded.
Okay.
So now we were talking about how we can see the data from one domain to other domain. So there are two ways to view the data under domain separation. So there is like contains domains and there is visibility domains basically. So there might be a case when, so if we talk about suppose one company is onboarded and they are also having some child companies where they just want to segregate the data, not the process will be same, just the data will be segregated. If suppose some company has their small vendors or some small customers, so they can be applied to that child domain so that the data is segregated. Now for some users, for from domain 1 they want to access the data of domain 2 of same parent company. So generally that's the scenario for that. Then only they will try to provide access to each other's domain. So for that part we have two option: contains domain and visibility domain. So we can provide uh, the child parent child relationship for domains, where we can use domain contains table that will allow a domain to be containing another domain. So I will show you under record of domain what all things are there. So now the domain content table allows users of a domain. Yeah, similar thing I was telling. So you see, this is the important part. The records in this table define the contains relationship, and this applies to data only, not process, right? So process, if suppose they are having some business rule are different from domain 1 to, that will not be applied on process. Only the data will be viewed and seen. So that's the relationship which we need to create under contains domain. So you see, contains domain allow users of a domain to see data from other domain. So this is the domain contains thing which you will see on the table. Now we have visibility tables where we have specific users or groups to view data for that domain. Okay, if they are not able to access in the hierarchy level, so they can provide the user or group visibility. So suppose if a user or group in customer domain needs visibility to customer domain or customer to, so visibility rules can also be used with contains relationship, or they can be used separately. So it's like we can, if suppose that doesn't work when domain hierarchy is added, so we can use visibility domain also. We can provide those visibility or user visibility to that domain. So like the user visibility and visibility tables allow a specific user or group to view data for a domain that couldn't otherwise access in the hierarchy. So most probably they will get access using domain itself. So this is the other way also to maintain the visibility, because just imagine it's not about only user. So suppose they want to give visibility to specific group, not everyone, so they can utilize basically that visibility domains part of domain separation. So yeah, so these are the important one which I have mentioned for visibility part, though this will not be utilized much because people try to work on process separation side much rather than providing access to each other domains data, right? And this will be more understandable when you try to add something under your domain side, or when you try to create something on domains. So I will show you instance also, how after enabling what happens in the instance. So you see there in this system domain separation is enabled, and you will see update set scope is present, similar way application, and similar way domain scope we are having. So this is the out of the box data which is visible right now, and global is selected, not even top. So the process will be defined mostly on top domain, whatever on basic process like out of the box process they want to create, so that they can demo same process to all the customers, and top of that the modification is done. All right, so this way we can change our domain also here. From here, if we are working on a specific domain, so suppose I am working on Acme, so I will click here, and you will see it is loading to change the domain for me. So domain is changed. Now whatever changes I will create on business rule, suppose I am having business rule in this top domain, and we have modified something on that business rule, that business rule will be overridden in Acme domain, and this will be the path of Acme domain. Okay, so path is also important in terms of some of the table when you have to verify the data whether it is process basically, or user data, you have to identify whether the user data is correctly added in specific domain or not. So I will show you that field also under user table. First I will show you domain application here, domain separation. So you see we have multiple domains here, domains map, domain map, and these are new things that has been introduced. Previously there used to be domains and domains map and settings part only. And you see they have created this is the good thing also, they have provided separately because previously it was not there. If I click on domains, let me open map also and this also. So these are the domains which was visible on this side, right? You see, we are having a domain. Under top, we have these all domains. And under top, there is MSP also. Under MSP, there is Oceanic Airlines. Now we will see this top MSP Oceanic Airlines. So this is the top domain. So I am opening this. So you see, this is the primary domain. So they have selected it as primary. So this will not be having any parent domain. As soon as you change this configuration, this will also impact the things within system. So it is mostly recommended, try not to modify this top domain. So I was just showing the example. So you see there is a contained by MSP. So this is the MSP part. So see contains domain. So this is the parent. So that's why it is showing as contains domain. Now see under top we have MSP. This is the, you see this is name and this is the parent. And similarly if I open MSP, you will get Oceanic Airlines here. Oh sorry, let me open the record. So see we have top MSP here. What it opened again, company. Okay, so this, let me open this only. So this is the hierarchy. You will understand it better here. So you will see we are having top, under top we have default MSP, Oceanic Airlines, and these all things. So this is basically the structure. You will identify what all customers is part of which parent group. So this way you will identify your relationship data. So if suppose this is Acme domain, so we type is fine, that is not a problem. We can define the company here. Under domain we have to define company also, because what happens, the the user for this company will access these domains things. So basically that this will be a very useful also. Don't miss this company thing under domain. So that is also an important thing to keep in mind. So here you see Acme is having its top. So Acme is this, Acme parent is top. So that's why the parent is defined as top, and we cannot make this as primary. Primary is only one in the system, that is top. And now one more thing, yeah, domain separated tables. So you see we have dictionary entries here. So we have these all tables where domain separation is enabled. So you see I will ungroup it. So you see there is a column name sys domain. So this is the identification that the domain separation will work for all those tables. So you see there are huge amount of list for data separation here, right? And if I open user table also, see we have domain field here, domain field and domain path. The user basically comes for domain. See Acme users is having this domain, right? You see here Acme employee, Acme ITIL user, and Acme Acme manager. So these three user will access only these data, only these process or data under Acme version, right? And you see other users are on global, because You see, we have domain for these three users and domain for Cisco employee for Cisco domain. So there you, if suppose a user domain has to be populated correctly, because then only that user will get that specific domain data. Until this domain is defined, he will not be able to access the data which you are looking to show that user, right? So this all depends on this domain field of user table, and rest all users is part of global. So those are out of the box. You don't have to worry about that. The users will be created or extractor or added in this system using this domain field. All right. So I think this is mostly about domain separation one, and if required, I will show one business rule also, how that will work when we try to create it. See, domain and domain path will be available every time. All business rules are under global domain, you will see. Now, suppose I will pick one incident table business rule. So suppose we have this, I will open in new tab. So this is part of global domain, and suppose I will change the domain from here. I want to use same business rule, but for adding some changes on Acme domain. So I will select this Acme domain now, and I have opened this business rule. This is part of global. And now what I will do, okay, that is good. We don't have anything here. So what I will do is like I will provide message also. Suppose I am just providing sample text. Okay, now I will just save it. I will not insert and do anything. See, I just clicked on save, but new business rule has been inserted to override this for domain Acme, right? If I reload this, so currently it is showing 38, and now I will load it. So see, it becomes 39 because one of the business rule is created under Acme region, and that business rule will also be present. So suppose you see why I am seeing only my domain business rule, because I have already created it. I will not see that business rule which I have modified from top a domain. So now that will be viewed if you are again went to your global or top. So as soon as I will click here, I will see only global one. I will not see the child business rule because it's not required to see the process.
So Prashant, is domain separation is applicable to portals?
Uh, so far, no. We have to write a script for doing the segregation while the SSO happens for individual user domains.
So it will not be applicable to the now mobile
No,
and now agents
yeah,
as well,
now
right?
mobile it will not work for the fact. Mobile it will not work, yeah. So far I know. Portals also we can check if suppose they might introduce or not. I am not sure. Let me check, because when I have done the development with related to portals, that time it was not there. Now also it is not present. See, we have to design.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
not available for
we
portal.
have to design it according. We have to write the script basically where these SSO scripts are written, right? So we have to define there those domains, and for that we have to basically write some system property also, at what time which portal has to be launched for what kind of users. So we have to define under our script, SSO scripts, when the user logins through SSO or normal login. So we have to define while login which domain users are logging in the system. So we have to define that.
Okay.
Okay, and if suppose we are having separate portals, separate things, and we are having multiple portals, so it will ask where to show the data. When you have multiple domains, that multiple portals, then you will see that kind of changes. Right now, I don't have, because we need to onboard four different thing people, client or customers. Then only I can show.
Yes, I can understand. There are a lot more customizations are required,
Yes,
right?
but this is the basic one
And I
which is required. But if anyone is having any question, they can connect with me, because in 1 hour session we can only cover the basic
yeah,
thing, much
definitely.
basic things. But if someone is really implementing that, you can connect with me anytime over the LinkedIn, or you can connect with Abhishek also. If you are not, if I am not reachable, so you can definitely connect with Abhishek, and then we can sit and resolve the things, if your customer or if your client is really implementing that.
So thank you, Prashant. That was really, really amazing session. Even I got to learn a lot of things about domain separations. So, guys, if you have still any questions, and sorry if we were not able to answer during this session, so you can either reach out to me or Prashant on LinkedIn. And also, if you think that you also want to present on any topic, you can connect with me and let's connect, discuss, and collaborate. So that is it for this session. So hopefully you enjoyed the session. I actually, because I'm really happy that I saw there are a lot of audience who continuously asking the questions. So that is what makes an insightful discussion. Prashant, would you like to say something before we close this?
Yeah, so why I chose this topic. So basically, I also do some sessions. So people are mostly talking about similar things. So people don't have much questions because they have already worked and they are much clear on their part. But some time back I used to get questions, okay, if suppose I have to implement domain separation, so what we have to do, and if it is required, so how we can do that. So many people has reached out to me in past couple of months, but I was telling them, okay, we don't have some real case or real things, so that I can just present you to show you how that exactly works. But that's why I have chose this domain separation, so that multiple audience can get access to what is domain separation. Yeah, I know not all the customer or not all client will be utilizing this, or your organization, because this setup is really huge. You want some team also, so the team is should also be a good number of people in your team to identify or make the changes with related to domain separation. Because uh, for an example, there are multiple customers. If I tell you, for an example, I worked in domain separated environment where more than 20 customers were onboarded, and then we have hell amount of things there, and we have to make changes if some changes comes to specific domains. So we have to verify whether we are doing correct change or not. That is one of the most important one, because if suppose you created some global business rule, and that business rule will execute in all the company process, and you will get the escalation. So you have to be very careful on that. That's why I tried to show you and focused more on doing the configuration correct way rather than doing correct or wrong. You have to define whether you are doing changes on correct domains. That is very important here.
Okay, thank you very much, Prashant. It was really amazing session. Thank you. Looking forward to having a more grateful sessions with you.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay,
Bye. Have
bye.
a nice day.